Hannibal Barca, the threat that wouldn't die. Hello, history fans, and welcome back to Historic Figures. Forget the heroes who won. Today, we meet the figure who embodied raw ambition, rage, and a near supernatural brilliance. He is Hannibal Barca, the ghost behind the gates of Rome, the eternal enemy destined to bring an empire to total collapse. He was more than a general. He was a machine of vengeance born from a blood oath. He is the father of strategy, whose army's movements were measured not by distance, but by the terror he instilled. This is the high-conflict story of Hannibal, the master strategist who dared to challenge nature, annihilated 80,000 soldiers in a single day, and turned defeat into the cruelest art. 1. The blood oath and aristocratic roots, 247 to 237 BCE. This story begins with a profound primal hatred. Hannibal was born in Carthage in 247 BCE, squarely in the shadow of their devastating defeat in the First Punic War. He belonged to the Barca family, the family of thunder, a prominent aristocratic and military clan in Carthage, representing the nation's most powerful political elite. His father was Hannibal Barca, a fearsome general who led Carthage's final resistance against Rome in the previous war. Hamilcar instilled the hatred of Rome into every member of his household. His mother came from a leading Carthaginian family, ensuring Hannibal possessed the blue blood of the Carthaginian aristocracy. When Hannibal was just 9 years old, his father led him to a dark temple altar. There, Hamilcar demanded his son swear an everlasting oath against Rome. It was not just a promise, it was a blood contract that shaped Hannibal's entire existence. This vow became his compass. He didn't just receive military training, he was honed into a precision weapon. He viewed Rome not as a rival, but as a cancer that had to be excised. His ambition demanded annihilation. He was determined to deliver it. 2. Born for war. Training in the field. 237 to 219 BCE. Under his father's direct command, Hannibal grew up in the Carthaginian military camps in Spain. His formal education was the art of war. From a young age, he mastered the languages of the Mediterranean, but the language he spoke most fluently was command. He learned logistics, intelligence, and how to control a massive, multicultural army, a vital skill for Carthage. Hannibal was not just brilliant, he was impervious to physical suffering, fighting alongside his soldiers and leading by example, which inspired absolute loyalty. When Hannibal took full command in 218 BCE, he immediately knew that a naval war was pointless. To defeat Rome, he had to shatter its political and moral integrity. His choice: attack northern Italy by crossing the Alps, a natural fortress deemed utterly impenetrable. The decision was insane, a gamble that discounted the lives of tens of thousands of his soldiers. He set out with 90,000 men and the psychological weapon he needed: his war elephants. 3. The Death March, crossing the snowy hellscape, autumn 218 BCE. Hannibal's passage across the Alps is one of the greatest feats of logistics and sheer survival in ancient history. It was a battle against nature, more lethal than any human enemy. The Frozen Kill. The army was forced to ascend narrow trails above steep ravines, battered by early autumn snow and ice. Mountain tribes attacked relentlessly, rolling massive boulders down onto the columns. Soldiers slipped to their icy deaths. The elephants were forced to climb near vertical cliffs. Massive sacrifice. At critical passes, they had to carve a new path through solid rock using fire and vinegar to make way for the elephants. This 15-day journey was a logistical slaughter. When Hannibal finally descended into Italy, his army was decimated. He lost over 1/3 of his forces, thousands of cavalry, and nearly all his elephants. Yet, the survivors, hardened by the frozen hellscape, were now the most motivated and resilient fighting unit in the world. 4. Terror in the North. Shock and Despair. 218 to 217 BCE. Hannibal's sudden appearance in Italy sent political and military shockwaves through Rome. The city, focused on its navy, suddenly found its most lethal enemy standing at its door. Hannibal exploited this panic with a series of brutal early victories. Trebia, a strategically flawless win, leveraging the freezing cold river and a hidden surprise attack. Lake Trasimene, a bloody massacre orchestrated in thick morning fog, trapping Roman legions between the lake and the hills. Upwards of 15,000 legionaries were drowned or killed in hours. A Roman consul died. Panic consumed Rome. Every plan was wrong. To combat this untouchable menace, they appointed the dictator Fabius Maximus. Fabius's Fabian strategy was simple: refuse direct battle, shadow the enemy, and wear him down, an action derided by the public as cowardly. It was a painful admission. We are too afraid to fight Hannibal head-on. 5. Cannae. The stage of perfect slaughter. 216 BCE. Roman shame finally escalated into blind rage. In the summer of 216 BCE, they assembled 8 legions, the largest and most powerful army in their history, estimated at 86,000 men. The goal? Destroy Hannibal at Cannae. Hannibal, with only 50,000 troops, prepared the stage for a masterpiece of tactics, the cruelest and most brilliant maneuver ever conceived. The lure. Hannibal deployed his army in a weak convex crescent formation, placing his most vulnerable troops in the center. He dared the dense, unstoppable Roman infantry to push forward. The killing trap. As the massive Roman force surged, Hannibal's center executed a controlled, planned retreat, pulling the entire crushing weight of the Roman infantry into a tight, disorganized pocket. The double envelopment. At the critical moment, the elite Carthaginian troops on the flanks swung inward, creating the deadly envelope. Then, Hannibal's cavalry, which had routed the Roman horsemen, charged back to strike the rear. Trapped in the double envelopment, the Roman legions couldn't move, couldn't raise their weapons, and couldn't fight back. The battle turned from war into mass execution. Between 50,000 and 70,000 Roman soldiers and commanders were killed in a single gruesome day. Roman blood soaked the plain. Hannibal did not just win, he annihilated the Roman army. 6. Psychological paralysis and the slow rot. 215 to 205 BCE. After Cannae, fear became Hannibal's greatest weapon. He became a perpetual shadow in Italy, a constant menace. Rome refused to negotiate. They remobilized their resources, raised new armies, and returned to the Fabian strategy, avoiding direct conflict and launching a war of attrition. Hannibal roamed the Italian countryside for over a decade, winning every field battle, but strategically unable to deliver the knockout blow. This was Hannibal's ultimate tragedy. He won all the tactical fights, but lost the political war. He lacked the siege weaponry to take Rome, and his Italian allies failed to provide adequate logistical support. Rome, refusing to surrender, slowly starved his momentum by cutting off his supply lines. The agonizing stalemate destroyed his chance at total victory. 7. The tragic return, the rise of Scipio Africanus, 204 to 202 BCE. While Hannibal was mired in Italy, Rome produced its own genius, Scipio Africanus. Scipio realized the war could only end by attacking Carthage itself. Scipio launched a direct invasion of the Carthaginian homeland in North Africa. The strategy worked. A desperate Carthage recalled Hannibal home. After 15 years undefeated on enemy soil, Hannibal was forced to retreat, abandoning his dream of vengeance in Italy. It was a monumental disappointment. The final confrontation, The Battle of Zama in 202 BCE was the tragic finale. Leading a hastily recruited and untested army against Scipio, who had studied and perfected Hannibal's own flanking tactics, the old general suffered his first and only decisive defeat. The defeat shattered the Carthaginian Empire and ended the Second Punic War. 8. The hunted exile and the ultimate death, 202 to 183 BCE. After Zama, Rome stripped Carthage of its power and wealth. Yet Rome's hatred for Hannibal never faded. He served as chief magistrate in Carthage, reforming its finances, but Roman agents relentlessly pursued him. Hannibal was forced into permanent exile, spending his final years in Asia Minor, serving as a military advisor to kings fighting Rome. Finally, cornered by Roman agents in Bithynia, an aging Hannibal knew the game was over. To avoid the ultimate humiliation, being paraded through Rome in chains, he made one last tragic decision. The warrior who swore to destroy Rome swallowed the poison he had kept hidden in his ring for years. Hannibal failed to fulfill his blood oath, but he achieved something greater. He forced Rome to evolve from a republic into a global military power. The destruction he inflicted set a cruel standard for tactical warfare. To this day, he remains the father of strategy, and his name will forever be synonymous with terror, conflict, and unparalleled military genius. History fans, why was Rome so obsessed with hunting Hannibal even after he was defeated? Was it fear of his strategy, or the power of that childhood oath? Share your analysis in the comments.